Now let's take a look how to create one-dimensional arrays using tables in Lua. So to create a table, just pick a name. I'm going to name it TBL1 for table 1 and just create these curly brackets. And now we have an empty table. And I'm going to populate this table with some random numbers. So let's say 74, 58, 96, 1, 5, and let's say 24. So I have 6 numbers in this array or table. And you can get the length of this table using... There is 2 methods actually. You can use the table.maxn and give it the tbl1, and it will print out 6 because we have 6 values inside tbl1. And the shorter way is actually just to use the hashtag and tbl1. And it does the same. So now I'm going to show you how to create a 2-dimensional array with using tables. So this will be table 2, and inside this table I'm going to add 3 new tables. So 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to add here some numbers, so 1, 2, 3, then 4, 5, 6, and let's say in these ones 7, 8, and 9. So now we have a 2-dimensional. This is a 1-dimensional array or table. And this is a 2-dimensional array or table. So, okay. Now, how to get the values out from these tables? First, from the table 1, from the 1-dimensional array, you can use just a simple numeric for loop for this. So for, you know what, first of all, I'm going to copy and paste these 2 lines here and just get the length of table 2, and also with this syntax, and just run it. And you can see that table 2 has the length of 3 because this table inside the outer table counts as value 1, this second table counts as value 2, and this third table counts as the third value inside this outer table. And now let's use a numeric for loop to actually loop through on this first table. So you can do this just with the following syntax. For I equals to 1. Don't forget that table indexing in Lua starts at 1. So in this case 74 is index 1. Unlike in other languages like Python or Java, where the indexing starts at 0, in Lua the indexing starts at 1. And this is one of the most important thing to remember when you want to program in Lua. So that's why I'm starting here at 1, and go to the length of table or tbl1 and do print out tbl at ith index, and and. Okay, so I'm going to make this one a little bit bigger and run it. And now here it prints out 74, 58, 96, 74, 58, 96, then 1, 5, 24, 1, 5, 24. So this is how to print out a one-dimensional array. And now let's print out this two-dimensional array. I'm going to just Control U and go to the next and create another for loop. It will also start with I equals 1. Go to the table 2, TBL2's length, and do print. For now I'm just going to print what's inside TBL2. And these two print statement I'm going to comment out. So let's run it. TBL2. Yes, I wanted TBL2 at index at white index. So now this for loop prints out TBL2 at ith index, and as you can see, the first iteration I is this table, which corresponds to this table. Then prints out a second table, which corresponds to this table, and the third table, which corresponds to this third table inside this big table. So if you want to get the actual values, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8, 9, you need to create a second for loop inside this one. So I'm going to comment out this print and create a second for loop, and this will be j, and it will also start with 1, and it will go to the length of table or TBL2 at ith position. So now let's print out TBL2 at I and j and end it. Don't forget always to end. And now let's run it, and it prints out, as you can see, the values. So 1, 2, 3, then 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, 9. So this for loop first goes to the outer table, and the inner for loop goes to the inner tables with the length of table 2 at I, and then prints out the table 2 at ith and jth index. Using tables, you can also store values like dictionaries or hash maps. So let's create TBL1 and just add to this TBL1 some values. So using key value pairs, so I'm going to create 1 will be equal to 1, 2 will be equal to 2, and 3 will be equal to 3, and also 4 will be equal to 4. So now it is a key value pair table. And if I want to get the length of this table, so TBL1, you can see I'm just getting 0. And that's a little bit misleading, because these, when you're using with key value pairs, these are not counting as indices inside the table. Let me create one more thing. You can also add to tables just functions. So function and I think I can give just like an anonym function. Let's run it. And now, as you can see, this function is not a key value pair. So now it counts as index 1, and we have the length of this table now it's 1. So if I make it equal to, let's say, f equals this function, then it will be again just 0. So everything which is a key value pair is not indexed inside this table. So you can get the 1's value or this 2's value or 2 like this. So print out and the tbl1 dot 1. Now let's run it, and it prints out 1. Now dot 2. It prints out the 2. Let's print out this function. So tbl1.f, and it prints out a function with its memory location. And the other way to actually print this out, you can do tbl1, and with this syntax, 2 square brackets and inside quotes 1. So this is one way of getting the value of these key value pairs, and this is the a little bit longer way to actually index, or not index, but getting the value of key value pairs inside a table. In Lua, there is the so-called generic for loops, which are used on tables. So one is the pairs and the other is the ipairs. So I created here 3 tables. The first table is just a simple array with 6 numbers, and table 2, it has key value pairs, so 3, 4, 5 until 6. And the table 3, it has key value pairs, it has a function, and it has also just simple numbers, and also a table with numbers. So now I'm going to create a for loop using the pairs. So for key and value in pairs of table or table 1, oops, do print out the key and the value, and don't forget to end it. So now let's run it, and as you can see, it prints out the key, which is the index. As I said, indexing in tables starts at 1, and its value, so 74, 58, 96, 1, 5, 24. And now let's do this using the ipairs, and it does the same, absolutely the same. So the difference is, when I want to print out table 2 using the ipairs, table 2, we will see nothing. So ipairs cannot be used on tables which has key value pairs. And now let's try it on table 3. It has key value pairs, but it has also just simple numbers. So table 3, and let's run it. And you can see that it just absolutely ignored the key values. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and the function were ignored, and the only thing it printed out is the 74, 58, the 96, so 74, 58, 96, and this one table, so this table. But as soon as you assign, let's say, to this table, you make it a key value pair, it will be not printed. So now only prints the 74, 58, and the 96. And now let's try it using the pairs instead of the ipairs. So let's run it, and the pairs prints out everything, but it also starts with the simple values, so 74, 58, 96, 74, 58, 96, and then it prints the function, this function, then the 4, then the table, so this S table, and these key value pairs. And if you're using pairs, it's unordered. So if you have so I'm going to show you on this table, so table 2, and run it. So as you can see, it prints out first the 6, then the 4, then the 1, then the 3, then the 5, and then the 2. So it does not print in this order. It just randomly picks and prints it out from this table. So just remember that simple arrays or simple numbers are ordered, but key value pairs are unordered. Let's create a 4x4 matrix, an identity matrix using tables. So I'm going to name it matrix 4x4 matrix, and it will be equal to a table, and inside this table I'm going to create 4 inner tables, so 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'm also going to move it to the next line so it's better readable. And an identity matrix, a 4x4 identity matrix, has in the first row 1, 0, 0, and 0. In the second row it has 0, 1, 0, and 0. Then 0, 0, 1, 0, and 0, 0, 0, and 1. So as you can see, it has on its diagonal, so in this line, this diagonal line only once. So, and it has 4 rows and 4 columns. And now let's, and now just let me print out this 4x4 matrix, first using ipairs, so a generic for loop, and then I'm going to print it out using a numeric for loop. So first I'm going to add a comment, print out the matrix using generic for loop, not loop, but just loop, generic for loop. So for key and value in ipairs of matrix 44 do, and now we should, so this first for loop will, this outer for loop will go into inside the outer table, and we need to go inside these inner tables to actually get the values. So for that I'm going to use an inner for generic for loop. So key 1 and value 1 in ipairs ipairs of value do print out the value 1 and end it and end the outer for loop as well. So now let me run it, and as you can see it prints out the values. So this is the first row 1 0 0, this is the second row 0 1 0, the third row 0 0 1 0, and the fourth row which is 0 0 1. So this inner for loop, the key and the value gets into the inner tables. So this one, then this one, then the third one, and the fourth one. So that's why I'm giving here to ipairs the V. And now let me print out the matrix using the generic for loop. So print out the matrix using generic for loop. Only one O for loop. Okay. And I'm going to just comment out this one and create a not a generic but a numeric for loop. Numeric for loop. So for I equals 1 and the length of matrix 44 do. This is the outer loop. Now create an inner loop which will be j equals 1, and the length of matrix 44 at index I do, and print out the matrix 44 at I and j. And let's end the two for loops. So end. And now this numeric for loop does the same as this generic for loop. It will print out all the values from this matrix 44. So run it, and as you can see it does the same. So let's improve this code a little bit, because I don't like that it prints out every value from this matrix 4x4 on a new line like this. And the print function adds automatically a new line after every call. So instead of the print, I'm going to use the IO's module write function. So I'm going to just delete this and use the io.write and give it the matrix 44 and at position I and j. Now this io.write will write everything on the same line. So I'm going to run it. So here is our 4x4 matrix, and if you want to separate it, then in this, after this inner for loop, just give it a simple print and it will separate this on a new line. So now the matrix looks exactly the same as it is defined here. And now do the same using the generic for loop. So I'm going to comment out this numeric for loop and comment back this generic for loop. So I'm going to delete this print and replace it with io.write, and give it the v1, and let me run it. So now it prints everything on one line. So after this inner for loop, I'm going to just print a new line. And now it prints as it should.